Hello and welcome. Tonight we'll be featuring the accordion playing of Finbarr Dwyer, a big name in traditional Irish music for many years. He has a lovely flowing style of accordion playing, full of skills, but also variations and all sorts of musical tricks. He has been absent from the traditional music scene for a long time, but now he's back playing up and down the country, and tonight we feature the music of Finbarr Dwyer on the Rolling Wave. It was accordion player and singer Seamus O'Begley who first phoned me to say that Finbarr Dwyer was back on the scene, playing and playing well. And this was good news for me, because I would know Finbarr Dwyer's recordings from the 1960s. So, glad as I was to hear this, I rang Finbarr and asked him could we record one of his concerts. And he said, no problem. And the place that we went was Dolan's in Limerick City, and we were made very welcome there. And we recorded the concert. That's what we're going to hear on the programme tonight now, or a good section of the music that was played that night. And just one thing to say about Finbarr Dwyer, he doesn't tend to give long, flowing introductions to the music, which means that you don't get much of the background to the tunes, but on the other hand, you probably hear twice as much music as you would from someone else.
I'm from a place called Cairoo near Castletownbere, County Cork. Hence, I composed a tune called Farewell to Cairoo, and I also composed a tune called Bearhaven. So then I suppose really the big influence was my father, really, because he was involved in the whole area, and he got, I think it was 2 or 3 years in Spike Island, and he met lads from all the different counties, and I got all my tunes from him. Then Finbarr Dwyer, my first cousin, he was a great fella. He was to pick me up at 3 o'clock after he was the headmaster in Orden National School, and he used to pick me up at 3 o'clock every day after school and take me to Algroom, and that was the first time that I had my idol Paddy O'Brien, and of course the great George Ross and Kieran Kelly, John Bowe, Joe Burke, and of course nowadays you have fantastic players like Denny O'Mahony, John Brosnan, Derek Hickey, Dan Bruther, John Regan, and Tony McMahon, who's playing better than he ever played in his life. You have a mighty crop of box players now.
Would there be much music locally around?
Oh, there would. Joe O'Neill used to play. Joe O'Neill of the Cross. There was a taxi driver, Brendan something from Malahys. He used to play the accordion. And then, of course, I forgot Martin McMahon, the great Martin McMahon. Of course, Martin won the All-Ireland, I think about 1963 or 64. He's still playing great music.
And was it the accordion that you started on?
It was the accordion.
But you went then to you would have played the fiddle as well too.
Oh yes, I did. I played the fiddle. I thought I'd been playing it the right way. I played it left-handed. Yes, I have, and I've played it ever since. Seems a natural thing to do.
And would the music actually have been played in the house as you were growing up?
Oh yeah. My father used to play the fiddle. A bit of a penny canny type of a player, long bowing. And of course then my brother Robert, brought the first C sharp and D accordion to us. Oh, that was, paid 35 quid for it that time. I don't know the heck how he managed to pay for it. But then again, of course, all the rest of them were fine musicians. Richard, of course, you see. And of course, John, who used to play with the Castletownbere band. He was a sergeant in New Ross. And of course, Mary and Kitty and Margaret, they all sing and everything. Yeah. And
what did you do then, like for schooling and for a living?
Oh, I was a secondary modern school teacher in England for about 10 years. I trained at St. Pat's. But I left. I started off. I was to teacher training in Finbarr, and then I bailed out and headed for England. And then I was a secondary modern teacher in Beckentry Heath, Bishop Ward Roman Catholic School in Beckentry Heath, for about the best part of 10 years, I'd say.
And were you playing in the course of that time?
Oh, I was, yeah. I was playing all the pubs around London. Yeah, there was a lot of the stores Camden Town. That's where I met Pierre Gilbois, the great European champion. And of course I play a lot of Yvette Horner's music. She was also a European champion.
Not traditional music, that?
Oh no, all continental type boxes, yeah.
Did you listen to a wide type of music when you were growing up?
Oh, I did. We was mad for Slim Whitman, Jim Reeves, Hank Snow, George Jones, Buck Owens, yeah, all them lads. I remember Curtis wouldn't hear of it in England that time when I was playing country and western. It was part of my show, you see. And they thought I was slumming. That's the exact words used. You're slumming when you come to hear the Irish music, he says.
But that didn't put in on you at all?
Not at all. I didn't take any notice of it.
Can you remember some of the musicians you would have known in London then?
No, I did. Raymond Rowland was a great friend of mine. Liam Farrell, the banjo player from Tyrone. Of course, John Bowe, Bobby Casey. Unfortunately, Bobby and Raymond are lost. And of course, the great Martin Burns. He used to play occasionally with the Dubliners. He was a great friend of mine. We used to all play together years ago.
What was it like playing Irish music in London at that time? Because it was a good scene, wasn't it?
It was fantastic. It was booming that time. It's gone now. All gone.
Where were the places you played?
Well, we was playing the stores in the Camden town for Mrs. Mannion. And her brother had a pub, the Cases Altar. And he's gone as well. And of course, the Brighton. We used to all play there. And of course, the Halfway House, Paddycoyne. I played there for years. Myself and Matt McMahon and Teresa. Danny Coleman, Vincent Healy. Yeah, there was an awful lot of us just played there. And there was a brood of fellow who was played the Boron. From Limerick.
In general, what was it like being Irish in Britain at that time?
It was fantastic. We had a great time. We were well looked after. Like, there was no bias at all against us. English people treated us brilliantly.
And when you did go to England, why did you go?
I went because really and truly there was no money in teaching in Ireland that time, and there was less in England. I remember I was getting 23 when I started up. I was getting £23 a week less tax. And then I started carpentering, and I was a useless carpenter. And I had got £75 sterling for 5.5 days. It was great timings.
When are we talking about? The 50s?
So the 60s. I went in March 1966. I went to England. Yeah.
When you were playing, like, did you consciously follow a style, or do you just let it happen as it happens, like?
No. Well, I started. Of course, Paddy O'Brien was my idol, as I said. Like, see, I started out copying Paddy, and then as it moved on, I developed my own style. The older I got.
And do you think that's a mixture of all styles, or some of your own?
Yeah, a mixture of. Well, there's a lot of fiddle music in my music. Yeah, of course, the great Seamus Conley. He was a great friend of mine. And of course, Martin Conley, and I forgot to mention him, he's another fantastic accordion player. And of course, Paddy Kenny was a brilliant fiddle player that time. Well, still is, I believe. I've met him for a long time, since I was in the Lantern and Lochray.
Do you think there's a big difference between the music then and the music now, as you hear it around the country?
Well, I think we've upped it a notch. I think we've upped it a little bit. There's some brilliant players out there. This is why we have to try and keep ahead of the posse, you see. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Can you remember when you would have made your first tune?
I say it was about 10. There's a funny story about this, actually. It was the very first track in that CD, and the second one was... yeah. But I was telling this great fan of mine, Paddy Hunt from Sligo. Well, anyway, I said to Paddy, I says, I locked myself up in the billiard room in St. Brendan's. I was going to St. Brendan's, Killarney. That's when I was educated. And I said, this Easter Monday, you see, they were all rich people. My people couldn't afford to come all the way from Castletown. My father and mother liked to see me. You see, it would cost them a fortune. But anyway, I said to Paddy, I says, I locked myself in the billiard room. I says, and I composed them 2 tunes. Well, he says, Finbarr, it's an awful pity you weren't locked up longer. He liked the bloody tune so much.
When you are composing a tune or you're writing a tune, what goes on? Like, how do you set about it from scratch to the finished product?
I think it's like his imagination. It's like a poet writing, I suppose, I mean, you picture really. You picture. Well, Farewell to Corona was the Esk. I was thinking about the Esk that was outside our house. You see, and of course, it was a kind of a drifty kind of a place, you know. And went up there one day, and that come into my head. The Farewell to Kenro.
Do you write them down, or is it all in the head, or do you do it?
Oh no, I can't write music at all. No. It's amazing what a man was teaching, isn't it?
Did you ever think you might like to learn how to read music?
Oh, I did, yeah, I did. I must get around to it sometime. The other thing is I must get around to the piano. I play the piano, but I'd love to start playing classical in it. But I must get into that.
How many tunes have you, would you say?
Oh, I have about 30 compositions altogether. Well, the Waltz of the Birds was composed. I had it through one Christmas, and there was a chaffinch outside the window in West Hampstead. And that would be Christmas 1968, because that was the year I got married. At the very end of that tune, that waltz, you can hear the chaffinch. And that's when it happened.
Did you ever think you wanted to kind of publish your tunes in any way, or put them out?
Well, I should have really, because everybody calls them their own, and you know, it's I have to do it at some stage. But it's not really that important, because I didn't invent music. It was there before me.
If you walked into a pub now and saw a group of musicians you never knew, you don't know them at all, and they're playing your tunes, what do you think?
Oh, so you'd be delighted. You'd be delighted. Yeah. Yeah, they all play them, yeah. And of course there's another great box player, Oliver Devaney. I forgot to mention him. And of course his father, Johnny, was a great friend of mine, Johnny Devaney. They're from the Oldmore Mary. Yeah, they were great players, so they play a lot of my tunes as well.
Are all your tunes to be found in any one place, or only in your head?
No, I have never done in my head. I never, ever. I must get my brother John to write them, because he writes music.
You stopped playing for a good while, didn't you?
I stopped playing for 17 years. I'll tell you now exactly what happened there. I had a rally team, and we beat a lot of them. We had all the top drivers. But anyway, I think it was 1988. Japers, one being Lithuania didn't Johnny get killed. Yeah, and unfortunately, I suppose we all took it that bad. I never played for 17 years. I'm only back this year. I got back then. Actually, a great friend of mine, Andy Fleming, from near Scartaglen, Ballydesmond, I think he lives now. Andy's birthday was last September, the same day as mine, the 20th of September. And the Japers, didn't I play, and I was in trepidation playing now. I thought I'm going to mess this up. Brian Roney, of course, was there. Sean McDonough, Billy Gleeson, all them lads were there. And that's when I started back. And of course, Colm O'Malley, who was a lovely accordion player he's from Carrow, but he lives in England now, was there.
And you're playing a good bit around Ireland at the moment,
I'm playing an awful lot, yeah. Burned out from driving, that's the only thing.
Where do you like to play?
I like to play anywhere that likes music. Kerry's fantastic, and so is Connemara. They're absolutely wonderful.
Do you like them to be quiet when you're playing?
Not at all. The more nice, the better. The more nice, the better. Because they're not drinking, then you say you won't get paid, then you say.
And what sort of long-term plans have you to do with the music, or have you?
Well, there'll be new CD now because I'm playing a lot of updated stuff and music that I change around. And strangely enough, there's a lot of lovely tunes that I kind of gave them the kiss of life. And a lot of people think I composed them myself. And I have to tell them, like in Patrick Albright, that I didn't. You know? But I just changed them around.
I noticed when you were playing that you put in a good few variations. And that
I do, yeah.
Would you be thinking about that, or just happen as you're playing?
It happens as you're playing, yeah. Well, I have to keep doing it because people won't come back to hear me playing. This is why I keep doing that all the time. Because they do say the remark on it. They say you choose different every time. So that's to keep the listeners, interested.
Well, I think it's fair to say a lot of people are very interested and excited by the fact that you are back playing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's funny. Strange thing, isn't it? Tony never played as better. Tony McMahon never played as better as he's playing now, and neither was I playing as good as I'm playing now. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
And do you mind me asking what age you?
I was 60 years of age on the 20th of September last year. And I had a fine head of hair once, but it's gone. The girls are not coming to me anymore.
Well, you haven't lost the music anyway, whatever.
Peter. Thank you very much, Peter. You're the worst driver than Elephant John.
The music of Finbarr Dwyer there, with Brian McGrath at the piano, finishing with two reels. Bunker Hill and Dinny O'Brien's, I think, at least I know those two names, recorded in Dolan's in Limerick. And there are other things that he does as well. You might hear him doing a night's music, play the fiddle, play the electric guitar. You heard him say there that he has a great interest in country music. And also, there's a whole lot of music that he plays on the piano accordion, which is quite different to what we've heard tonight. It's not Irish, and we're going to finish with one of those tunes now. Again, I couldn't tell you the name of this, but I do know that it's unlikely you would be finding this in O'Neill's 1001.